Welcome, I am Cyril Stober. Now, a brief statement released to the public on the 5th of October 2022 announced that a 7-man presidential committee assembled by the Chief of Defense Staff, General Lucky Rabo, had secured the release of 23 hostages held by Boko Haram terrorists following the attack on the Abuja-Kaduna train on the 28th of March 2022. And so the last batch of hostages regained their freedom. Now many questions arise. When was this committee put together? Who are its members? And these are just two. Now the statement was signed by Usman Yusuf, Secretary of the committee, a professor of hematology, oncology and bone marrow transplantation, and lately a vocal commentator on national affairs. He joins me today to make sense of the shocking and confounding circumstances of this saga. Professor Usman Yusuf, thanks for being on One-on-One.
Cyril, thank you very much for having me. The last time I was here was several years ago.
Yes, and matter of fact, this is the third time. Your first two times we were talking health. Today it's something else, but also it has a health component. Absolutely. But let's start from the beginning. It was a shock, a huge surprise to many Nigerians. They woke up and found this rather terse statement saying 23 remaining hostages had been released. The surprise about it was that you signed this release as Secretary of the Chief of Defense Staff Action Committee, and that was strange to many Nigerians. What is this committee? Is this a standing committee? And how long has this committee been in existence? And how come no one knew anything about it? Take us through this.
So it's a good thing that no one knew about it, and that was the way we wanted it to be. So from the very beginning, this dastardly attack happened on the 28th of March 2022. On the 29th, that is the next day, the Chief of Defense Staff, General Lucky Rabo, assembled us, the 7 of us. And our brief was simple. See how you can help the military complement its kinetic component with the akinetic pathway and see how we'll get everybody out safely. This was, our brief was brief, but and the 7 of us that were assembled, I know you wanted me to tell you who they are, but I won't. And in the fullness of time, everybody will find out who they are.
Right, I can appreciate that you won't mention their names, but there's another aspect to this, which you might not disclose to, but I'll ask you all the same. How were these 7 people assembled? On what? Based on what?
Good.
You, well, for some time now, you've been outspoken, and I do know that you had, in the company of some other gentleman, Dr. Sheikh Gumi, had at some point in time visited some of these terrorists in their enclaves, and you had become known for being vocal about issues. So we can safely say perhaps you were selected based on your having had contact with these people. But what about the others? What was the consideration?
So this is the honest truth. The honest truth is that all the 7 of us have had experience. We didn't just jump with a parachute from the sky into this. We all have had experiences with meeting these bandits, and we all played a role in rescuing. You remember that Federal College of Agriculture Mechanization in Kaduna, where we were instrumental in rescuing the hostages. Okay. That was then by these bandits, regular bandits that we've been visiting in all 8 states. Okay. But all the 7 of us, I can tell you this, I mean, so in the composition, I as a civilian, there's no way I could reach out to the military. General, sir, please let me help. The military needed to have the comfort of some of their own. The military, we know, are tribal in the sense that they see there as more than. So within the committee, I will tell you this for free, Cyril. There are 3 retired major generals that have served to the highest level of the military, that have seen combat at home and abroad, right? And between the three of them, if you count the number of years they have given their service to this country in uniform, cumulatively, they have served this country, they've given 100 years of life.
All right.
35 years, that is 70, and then 30 years, that is 100. So this retired military formed the bridge between the military and the civil component. Pull everybody through. The military will not understand or will not see me, will not accept me as well as it would one of their own. So, and within that, it's me. Of course, I have been talking. And then we have retired diplomat with leaning to intelligence all through his 35 years career. We have an academic that has invested over a decade of his life researching these bandits, and we have an elder in a prominent Fulani organization, GAFDAN. We all came together. All of us brought in our different experiences into the basket, and we enriched this process. And I have to say the Chief of Defense Staff embraced us. It took a while for us to be able to convince him that we can be of help. Patience is not in the DNA of the military. They want to go but we're pleading with them, we're begging them, say, give us a chance. Let us try this while you continue to do yours. So that's how he put us all together, and of course escalated it to the President and Commander-in-Chief, without whose support this thing would never have happened. So that's how we came together. And we needed, first of all, to find out, when you have a situation like this, you need to find out, who are these bad guys? Where are they? Which group are they? We have the regular bandits, we have Boko Haram, we have ISWAP, we have Darussalam, we have Ansaru. Who are these people? We have to identify who these guys are, where are they, who are their leadership, who do they listen to, and where else can we get people to get to them? And once we establish contact, we deploy to the field. I'm glad it all went quietly, nobody knew, and that's the way it should have been, and that's the way it worked out.
So you set out and you made contact with the hostage takers, and at what point did you begin to see that there could be other issues involved here?
Right. So we needed to find out, who are these guys. You've identified them, you've made contact. Then what are their grievances? I mean, grievances enough to go and bust a train, kill 8 people, abduct 63, including a 2-year-old and a 65-year-old, an 85-year-old grandmother. Who are these? What are your grievances? We needed to know what the problems are. And it's not only the military. We needed to spread our arms into other services that have been involved in this, that are very, very pivotal in whatever success this was achieved. The DSS. The DSS has enormous resources in terms of assets they have, in terms of intelligence. Remember, everybody was doing his own, even within the military, the DSS, private individuals, parents, and people that call themselves negotiators. Everybody was doing his own, and you talk to them, they will tell you, we don't trust the government, we don't trust the military, we don't trust DSS, we don't trust you guys call yourselves committee because you're representative of government. We don't trust this, we don't trust. Then who do you trust? Who do you trust? So we have to, that's why it's been painstaking, it's taken this long.
Was the Office of the National Security Advisor involved in this as well?
We have reached out to him. You know, the involvement will be way up there that we may not see. But our principal, the person we call our principal who assembled us, was General Lucky Irabo, the Chief of Defense Staff.
Now,
but I'm sure all security agencies know when they go to brief the president or talk among themselves, which I'm not privy to because I'm way down in the field.
Right. Now, what's confusing to many Nigerians is that, well, you say your committee was set up, but we also know that along the line, shortly after those hostages were taken, a few were released. And it came to public knowledge that there were some individuals who were involved in negotiating the release of some of those taken hostage. And it came to light that huge sums of money exchanged hands, 100 million per hostage. Now, what Nigerians would really like to know is, was this effort to release some of the hostages paying ransom, was it on while your committee was also working? Or did your committee start working only after huge sums had been paid before? Now, we don't understand. So,
Good.
were you working at parallel lines, or was it something that you had, some input from the
Good.
other?
Another question should ask: is the committee part of this trading of hostages for
Yes.
100 million? So from the outset, this committee was composed of honorable men.
Right.
Men that have given their all to the service of this nation and came out of retirement to do this voluntarily.
Right.
Not for any government or any party, but for the country and our people. From the first time when we sat down, even during our conversation with the terrorists, we told them, our brief is not to talk about money. Government does not pay ransom.
Did they mention that some others had come and talked
Right.
about money?
So our brief was not to talk about money right from the outset. And we are not going to, whatever money you ask for, we are not going to entertain that. You have grievances, government has grievances against you. Let us sit down and see how we can sit down and find a pathway to get everybody out and listen to everybody. We'll have period where they cut off communication with us for days because we refuse to talk money. And there was no way. We as the committee would recommend to our principal, because he was dependent on us. We were on the field. He assembled us. He was dependent on us to advise him appropriately. There was no way we could advise our principal to pay money.
Okay.
We were very clear about that. So, and then we had the merchants dealing with 100 million here, 80 million, get people out. We stepped back. We're not going to be involved in that, and we never were involved in that.
So that went on, and
They continued.
you
We
had
continued.
knowledge that some people were
They were doing
paying money to release them.
They were doing their own thing. In the interim, we didn't just go home and sleep. We were sending interlocutors and going into the forest 2, 12, 3 in the morning, in the thick forest all across this country, with the help of the military, to continue to talk to the interlocutors and their leadership to see how to get to them.
The surprising thing here is, did you not feel that your task had been made even more difficult since money had come into it, and that ordinarily, if people had been exposed to huge sums of money, they'd rather stay with that and not listen to you who just want to negotiate
Absolutely.
without
You're very
monetary
right. And this is one of the many frustrations and the hurdles we went through. We would come and tell our principal all our frustrations, and he visited us in the field. And his thing always is, gentlemen, remain focused. Don't ever forget why you're here. You're here to see how you can get everybody out. All that's happening around you is noise. Continue to do what you do, and you're doing a good job. There are times when we feel, why are we here? If somebody is collecting all that money. And he has asked us to remain focused.
Right.
And for that, we are ever grateful to him.
At some point in time, there were reports that the terrorists had threatened to start killing the hostages. Did that make you feel that your task had become even more urgent?
Absolutely. That's all the more reason why each time we see any of those things, I mean, we could tease out the real from the not real. But we never took anything for granted, because these people are not honorable people. It's all the more reason why we would feel as if we'd given a steroid boost to run into the forest, go to people, go to elders all across this country and beyond, to see how we can There are times when they will cut off communications with us for days. And we keep looking for them. And we hear them pop somewhere. And then they call us back. And they say we are not as worthy as those that are giving them money. Yes. And the families, we meet the families of the victims. And we take the heat of the families too.
Now, you during the course of these negotiations, you met with the families. Some of the families had been made aware that others had paid ransom and their loved ones had been released. But did they at any point know that you were not pushing for paying ransom? And did they accept you? Did they give you their cooperation with this knowledge?
You see, let us pray this thing never happens to any human being. Zero. If a relative is in the situation he was, people would sell whatever they have to get that person out. So us, before even we deployed to the field, we were meeting families here when nobody in government was meeting them, and giving them hope when even us did not see hope. And when we deployed in Kaduna, we were meeting with them. In their anger, they will be telling us, if it's your family, if it is the president's son, if it is General Irabo's son, if it is this, if it is this, we'll tell them, be patient. We can't tell them what we've been doing.
Okay.
So you've always been telling us, be patient, be patient. Government is not doing this, government is not doing this. There's so much we can open up. Ask all the 23 families whose family members were released. None of them knew they were coming out. They had the news when I released that statement.
So finally the breakthrough came and the terrorists agreed to release the hostages. You mean they just acquiesced after such a long time, and after having been exposed to money? You didn't pay hundreds of millions, or how much did you pay for the last hostages?
I'll tell you, and I will tell you, I've said it, and that's the reason I go around media houses talking. From the beginning, we told the terrorists and we told our principal, if money was going to exchange us as ransom, we're out. We had choices in life. We chose to do this. We did this, not us alone, everybody, all security agencies. But most importantly, the military provided an enabling environment. There was just no way we could have gone to any of the places we went to without the military.
You were not afraid for your life?
No, we feel we have the upper cover from God Almighty, but we know our troops are looking at us, and up there, drones. I mean, I've never been prouder of our military, the same military that I've consistently criticized.
Okay.
Consistently, all through the last 3 years. I have seen my being in this committee working for the last 6 months in close proximity to the military gave me an opening as to the challenges and as to find diligent officers and men we have in the military. Nigerians should not forget and tarry a while. Over the last 6 months of this operation, we've lost men. These are these are husbands, these are brothers. We lost them. You never see their names flashed on screens. We had a colonel in the 1st Division embedded in the committee from day one. He was the one that coordinated the kinetic and the akinetic. He was the first one in and the last one out. We never go to any place until he says it's okay. You remember, we are going and we were a legitimate military target.
Right.
The Air Force could have dropped bombs on us. But this colonel would coordinate everything. Open this passage, we are evacuating. Open this passage, we are going in. No firing, no this thing, the aircrafts, wonderful. And the Air Force came in. All the patients were taken care of by Air Force Hospital. All.
Right. So
all the services.
Right. You didn't pay anything.
Not a penny. And sorry, I forgot to answer this question. And I will say it again. Why is your camera? Not a single penny was paid as ransom by the government to secure the release of this 23. I could not be any clearer than this.
All right. And so On what basis did they now release the hostages?
So, Cyril, there are a lot of ways when you have hostage situations like this. And for me, this has been a learning process, and I've learned a lot. Number one, the military goes in from the outset for rescue mission and sustains 60% casualty. This thing we call casualty are our people. So the military kills 60% and kills 100% of the hostages and rescue 40% of our people. No, from the outset that wasn't an option. Neither the president nor the military was ready to entertain. We wanted to be as patient as it took. We were begging, literally begging and holding the military give us time. Number one. Number two, pay ransom. And we as the committee on the field, representative of government and advising our principal, the CDS, we were not going to advise the president or this government to pay ransom to a set of people that blew up this train, killed 8 people, and took 63 people hostages. Give them billions of naira. What do they do with the money? Go and buy more arms to continue their acts. That wasn't an option. Number three, do nothing, like many governors have done. Number four, give up. Say no. Or number five, do swaps, prisoner swaps. So these are options that were on the table that we needed to do that. And whatever decision we as a committee reached, we escalated it to our boss, the CDS. And within his team and his leadership too, they do that before escalating to the president. I must say this could never have happened without the consistent and unwavering support of the president. Without that, I'll tell you, and I'm one of the biggest critics of this president. And I was
going to say that. You with the last few years, you have criticized this president.
Absolutely. And it doesn't mean this will be the end. I will stop criticizing him. But give unto Caesar what is Caesar. You and I, we grew up, even our scriptures say there's adultery. You give somebody that which is his due. The president without his support, this thing would never have happened. Never. So no ransom was paid. The military, this was a military operation. It wasn't a civil operation. The military conducted themselves in ways that have made us all proud.
Okay. Now, if no ransom was paid, therein brings another angle to it. Prisoner swap, exchange, they made demands, and of course, quite recently there have been stories flying around in the media that 100 suspected Boko Haram terrorists were released from prison as part of the deal to release these 23. Is that true?
Right, good. It's a very good question. My wife asked me to read it. It was released on Saturday the 8th. I didn't see it until she asked me, read it, you're going on Arise TV, please read it before they will ask you this. All right, in that statement, whoever it was, he didn't have the guts to sign, he or she didn't have the guts to sign that piece. Whatever you write, I sign. Any unsigned document has no value. Number one. Number two, so this is what that document said, that in 2009, during Eradua Jonathan's time, 104 Boko Haram terrorists were captured and incarcerated in Kirikiri medium and maximum security prison. 3 of them died, according to the report. So 101 were left. And they said at 6 a.m. on the 8th of October, that was last Saturday, all the 101 prisoners were released in exchange for the 23 prisoners we got released on Wednesday. To Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. It just doesn't add up. This is all rubbish. Somebody just sitting down and either smoking or sniffing something and writing things. They're mischief makers. It's very important for us to be able to debunk this. There's no basis for that. Who would release 101 prisoners? So it's false. No basis, no connection with what we did.
It's an interesting society we have in Nigeria. And sometimes in the absence of official lines, stories fly around. And the thinking in the public is if no money was paid, no prisoners were exchanged. So, Oh, how? How? Because there are many cynics now who think everyone else is on the take on something. And how can this committee say it has done this without firing a shot, without exchanging prisoners, and without paying?
Yes, and that's exactly what happened. No prisoners were exchanged, no ransom was paid, no shot was fired at them. But remember, I said we lost gallant men in the course of this operation that you and I will never know. Let's say a prayer for them. But we've been able to achieve this without ransom, without this prisoner exchange that people are talking about. And we are hoping. The whole idea is to open a pathway, a network, a dialogue pathway for us to be able to achieve the larger goal of peace. That is the goal. And for us, this is a template. And I commend the military for allowing the non-kinetic part to come in, the kinetic. Both the kinetic and the non-kinetic are tools of war. All over. You see the Americans in Afghanistan, they are shooting and killing when they're building schools and digging boreholes. That is, we are the same society. We are not split between the military and the civil. The military is our military. We have our brothers and sons in this military, and we need to support them for this war. And they need to listen to the non-kinetic component. The military cannot sit down in front of these bad guys and dialogue with them. That's not the job of the military. Right. It's not.
Professor Usman, there's still many more questions, but we'll take a break at this point. When we return, there'll be more. Stay with us on One on One.
Weekend File, your Saturday delight, going to places from the obscure to the hinterland and cities, bringing you development stories and perspectives, connecting the people with government and stakeholders on critical issues of our national life.
We are live in Abuja.
It's 9 p.m. every Saturday on the network service of the NTA. Weekend File, you can't afford to miss it.
Why should we be in a difficult situation financially?
Once upon a time we were rich, but we're not a rich country anymore.
Disaster management is everybody's business.
In all these times, the organization turned to Nigeria.
We would as much want to harness the capacity that is within us so that we see how we can become self-reliant.
1 month ended and you said you are increasing warning strike by 2 months. I mean, you are incubating madness.
Even if these are officials of government who have been told to go and enforce the law and they have gone against the law itself, they must be held accountable.
One on One, Friday, 10:30 p.m. on NTA Network.
Thanks for staying with us. And I'm still here with Professor Usman Yusuf. And you went in and these hostages were released. Now you are a doctor of medicine. In what state were these hostages?
So this year I will have been a doctor 40 years. I graduated in 1982. So the first time we went, you remember we got the first 11 people? The very first time. The very first. This was in June. The exchange was supposed to be, they would give us all the women, all the children, all the wounded, all the sick. We got only 11 at the site of receiving them. And this raised a lot of tension. And it was a very unsafe environment because we left our troops outside town, but they came with theirs. And the colonel, and so he was the one that said, guys, we need to get out of here. It's getting hot. Let's get what we got and continue talking. So we got the 11 people out. They were in terrible shape then. This one was shot and wounded. So now we have this last ones. At that time we were expecting, our calculation, we were expecting we get all the 32 women. What would be left are the men that are healthy. And we ask our principal, let us buy medications, because we knew there was a doctor in there taking care of people. We debriefed everybody. We bought medications and sent it to them to take care of our people. So you can imagine people exposed to the elements for 6 months and 6 days, including a 2-year-old who was only 1.5 years old then. They're drinking from polluted water, they're drinking food that, so a lot of ailment. They came very weak, dehydrated. Many needed blood transfusion. They were malnourished. This is the physical we saw. The mental takes a while to heal. When we evacuated them, as we did the last time, when we evacuated them, we went straight to the hospital, the military hospital, the Air Force hospital. Everybody was waiting for us. The commandant of the hospital, the AOC, everybody, the nurses were waiting for us. And this time around, it was same. They were there for the 3, 4, 5 days. They were there, hydrated and transfused and fed and bathed and with new clothing, and they were shaved. They were in bad shape, but alhamdulillah, the last patient was released yesterday to her family. We did not allow any cameras into the hospital until they were in good shape to see. But we allowed family members to come in and see their families. And we made sure you are well, you are discharged, your family member go. As opposed to what you saw the last time. You will see pictures of this released hostages in the shape they were. So everybody played a role. This is the physical. The physical will say we're able to take care of. The malaria, the typhoid, the anemia, the dehydration, the malnutrition. The psychological is what will take time. Many will go through post-traumatic stress disorder. As a physician, right from the outset, when I was meeting the family members, when they didn't even have hope that these people will come out. So when they do come out, you need to be patient with them. You will have swings of moods. You will have periods where they're happy, where they're crying, where they are jumpy. And we are assembling their name and providing clinical, psychological support for them. We have a clinical psychologist on board ready for everybody to come out and then reach out to them. Psychiatric issues and mental issues are very private. I cannot intrude into your space if you don't let me. So it's something very private that the clinical psychologist will reach out to them. But it's a service that we are urgent, the Ministry of Transportation and the military, to be able to fund and help them with all their medical bills throughout the course of their recovery. It's going to take a while, but our prayers and continued family presence will help a great deal.
You think we have, I mean, for what you've just described now, you think that the country has the resources to take care of particularly this question of post-traumatic stress?
Yes, absolutely. It doesn't require MRI, CT scan. It requires dedicated psychologists and psychiatrists and family members and clerics to help people through the course of the recovery. It's going to take a while, but I'm sure they will recover with time. It's on a lighter mood. The kids, because there were about 6 children there, the kids, these terrorists bought them soccer, football, and they were playing all through the 6 months.
And they wouldn't really know at that point, except when they grew older and then get the real story of what was happening. But that itself could also be another challenge.
Right. And we visited all these families, a lot of these families with children. We visited the aged mother and the little 2-year-old. You could see her running around playing as if nothing happened. Requires a lot of support from the family to the religious community to the larger community and to the government to help them in the long recovery. Our goal from the very beginning, this committee will say our job should not end just by rescuing all these 23. Our goal is larger peace. How do we get there?
Right, we'll come to that, but I'd like to go back briefly to other efforts that we saw, particularly those were reported in the media. You are aware that another individual had been involved in negotiating. Now we know that there was a lot of money that exchanged hands, going by reports which we now have received. But then there was also the other matter that was in the public space, that one of the commanders had insisted on marrying one of the hostages, a Christian girl, and that was on the table. So how much of that do you know about when, I mean, given the fact that you negotiated?
Good. So talking about collection of that money by an individual, Cyril, you and I, this is sub judice. This is before the court of law, and investigations will take its course, and whoever was found guilty will be duly dealt with. But let's deal with this issue about this girl, this beautiful girl called Azurfa, a 21-year-old university student. That a statement was released on the 19th of August. Alerting the Christian Association of Nigeria and the federal government to the imminent danger that one of the leaders of the terrorists was planning to marry this girl, who is a Christian. And he was invoking the name of Leah Sharibu. The unfortunate incidents of Leah Sharibu, the 14-year-old girl at that time who was forcefully married to a Boko Haram commander because she refused to renounce her faith. So, and we, as a committee, we were very upset, just like everybody was. We don't want a repeat of what happened in Leah Sharibu's case. And we sat down with the chairman of the Christian Association of Nigeria, because you can imagine, it's now been turned into a religious thing. Of the 23 that were released, 18 are Muslims. So what is this thing you're going to play religious card? In a polarized nation at an election year, what did you stand to gain? What? So each person that was released, of all the people that were released, everybody, we sat down, just like the military sit down, we sat down and debriefed them and talked to them. Many we visited in their homes, those that cannot work. And none of them, especially the women, each and every one of them debunked their story and said their story was false.
So there was no truth at all in that story.
It was false. And the women would attest. And these guys are bad guys, no one would doubt that. But the women would attest that the women were treated better, they were not molested, they were protected compared to the men. So that story was dubious, was mischievous, and was cruel and uncharitable. There was no truth to that. Once that happened, each time we talked to them, we would ask them, how is Azurfa? They say Azurfa is fine. 3-4 days before they gave us all these prisoners, they were telling us Azurfa is not feeling well. We would ask them the next day, how is Azurfa today? How is Azurfa today? Remember, that's a 2-year-old. We're not asking about the 2-year-old, we're asking about Azurfa, this girl, because of this angle that the signatory of that statement was. When they were released, when they brought them all to us, the first person we asked for, where's Azurfa, where's Azurfa? Alhamdulillah, we have Azurfa. Azurfa was very weak, she needed blood, she needed hydration, we did that, and she was the last patient that was discharged in the hospital. So that story was false. That story was mischievous. There was no incidence of them wanting to, the commander wanting to marry her off because of her faith. It was a lie. It was a lie. Very, very upsetting to all of us, members of the committee. We are glad Azurfa and everybody in that group of 23 is out. And there is no more hostage out of the 63 that were abducted on that day.
The president came to see the released hostages in hospital. Were your committee members there?
Yes, we were there, and the chief of defense staff introduced us to him.
Was that the first time you were getting to meet the president as a member of that committee? I mean,
yes.
For the members,
yes.
or
I don't think he even knew who we were.
So you were meeting him for the first time as members, or he was being introduced to you as members of this committee for the first time. It wasn't as if you had briefs with him in the past.
No, never. I mean, the CDS kept it as covert as it could be. Not even the president knew who we were.
Now, the last of the hostages of the Kaduna train attack have been released now. And there are questions Nigerians are asking. This committee, is this a standing committee that is still going to go ahead? And because there are obviously other people who are in captivity, who are still being held. Will this committee still proceed with doing this, or this is just a one-off thing for the Kaduna train attack?
Right. So our brief initially was to see how we could help to get them out. But what this has shown is that the kinetic and the military, and it didn't stop throughout the course of this 6 months, and the akinetic can be married together to achieve good. And this is the template we want the military and the government to see how they can adopt. There are hundreds or if not thousands of our people all across. Remember, we still have Chibok girls. You remember Leah Sharibu is still in captivity. Remember, we have 11 girls, secondary school girls of the Federal Government Girls College, Beniyauri in Kebbi State. Remember, we have one Bethel Baptist High School, Kaduna. These are the ones we know. There are many more. What we are urging and what we recommend to government is to not allow this momentum die. We need to be able to see how we can use the akinetic component to be able to get all that are in captivity all across this country out of captivity.
There are some Nigerians who say, look, there are bound to be casualties anyway. So if you know where these terrorists are, why don't you just move in, overrun them once and for all? What do you say to that?
Cyril, you are talking to me as if I am the spokesman of the military, spokesman of the government. But I understand that, Cyril. I really do. Every Nigerian, every one of our 200 million Nigerians were angry about what's been happening, especially with this terrorism. But this anger was tempered by happiness when we brought everybody out. But that's not the end of our work. Our goal, and I told you, and the military was angrier than us, was more impatient than us. But we needed to beg them, literally, please allow us, please give us time to see everybody out. Now they are out. This obstacle is lifted off the military, and they continue to do their work. And trust me, these guys are just dead men working. We need to find peace. When the military everywhere in the world goes and does their own thing, peace is not found on the battlefield. Peace is found on the table. The military provide an enabling environment for dialogue, for sanity, for peace to be discussed. There is no doubt in our mind that the military has an essential component to play. But the CDS has shown that the akinetic component can play a complementary role in achieving what we achieve.
Now, using this as a test case, Prof, you've been involved in this, so I'm going to be specific. This Kaduna train attack victims. What are the issues here? A lot of things have been said about the situation. Political, ethnic, religious, all sorts, or a little bit of each.
Good. So, you remember I said we've been going around the forest. So first and foremost, it is very important you understand questions. You cannot pass a test if you go into the exam hall, you don't even understand the question. Understanding what the problem is. And what we found in the banditry, which is not what this was. This was purely a Boko Haram thing with co-option of these Fulani bandits. Banditry, over the last 2-3 years we've been going, just like going back to classroom, been understanding it. Wherever it happens, the headquarters is back in Zamfara. I'm an oncologist. The primary of the cancer is in Zamfara, and it has spread. But we are going at the spread instead of going to Zamfara to take care of that cancer. The problem is in Zamfara banditry. The federal government must be more proactive and assist the government in Zamfara, not necessarily militarily. Military will not solve this problem. Banditry is a social problem that we're increasingly militarizing. That is getting out of hand. Federal government must be more proactive and settle down in Zamfara and find out how to solve this problem. There's this report by the former IGP MD Abubakar. It's a template to see what the problems are. Where are the elders? People say if the state is failing, where are the statesmen? In the whole of Zamfara, in the whole of northern Nigeria, we don't have elders that can come in and solve this problem. This is what we found out. All through our 6 geopolitical zones, elders have lost control of our youth. We Fulani elders have lost control of our youth. That's why you see Fulani kids are now bandits. Kanuri elders have lost control of their youth. That's why you have Kanuri kids as Boko Haram. Igbo elders have lost control of their youth. That's why kids born long after the Civil War did not see the sufferings of their people are now IPOB and ESN. And then we saw that in Lagos too, during NSAS. When those youth went into the Oba of Lagos, ransacked the place and burnt Lagos, there was not a single Yoruba elder that could call them to order. We have a problem. Fellow Nigerians, the problem is that we elders have lost control of our youth, and we need to step in every little way we can. We are doing our part in our region. There's a lot more we can do everywhere. Everybody must come in. Everybody must come in. It's not, the military will not solve this problem. That's banditry. Banditry, go back to Zamfara. Boko Haram, go back to Maiduguri. That's where the problem is. You're having metastasis of Boko Haram now into the North Central, in Niger State, in Kaduna State, and up to Zamfara State. And we have said consistently when we visited those forests, Shegumi was saying, let us get to them before Boko Haram gets to them. Because these bandits do not have any twisted religious ideology. When you have this marry of these guys, this Boko Haram with their twisted religious ideology, aligning with these bandits who know the terrain, who are fearless, then we have a huge lethal cocktail. And that's what we are beginning to see. We need to continue to work. Elders must come in, traditional rulers, religious leaders. The government gives them a backup. And the military power is what made them listen to us.
So there's a bit of all of this in everything, a bit of it.
Absolutely.
Now, the other thing that's interesting as we wind down is, some have asked, why now? Is there some political undertone, especially as the elections are fast approaching and people are putting their best foot forward? Is there some political rearrangement here to make some politicians look good and some look bad?
You're asking me as if I'm Femi Adesina or I'm Garba Shehu or I'm APC or I'm Is this a coincidence? We hope not. Whatever it is, the momentum has been generated. And our call to government, not only this government, whichever government comes in, to please, 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 please don't rest on its oar. And we saw that even in the Northeast. In the Northeast, when this government came in 2015, the president said the military high command moved to Maiduguri. And they moved to Maiduguri, and we saw the impact that had in 3 months. But everybody went back to sleep. And then things are where they are today. This thing is doable. Our military, I have seen our military is one of the best in the world. They can do this. We just need the leadership. We just need a continuing support of the military, not only monetarily, but us all. And of course, continuing criticism of the military and the government by people like us who can talk and call them to order.
You won't mind if the skeptics say, look, Professor Usman Yusuf, you've been a critic of this government. You've criticized this president so many times, but you have come to work for this government. Is there something we're not getting here?
No, you're not. No, you're getting everything. I'm not working for the government. I'm not working for President Buhari.
Well, it's assumed that, you know.
It's an assumption, but let me say, I'm not working for President Buhari. I'm not working for General Lucky Irabo. I'm working for the Federal Republic of Nigeria, my country.
Through the instrumentality of the President of the government.
Without the President's support, and I've said it time and again, without the President's support and without the military agreeing to even listen, this thing would not have happened. But this is not working, and this is not working for any one person or any one party. We came in as volunteers to work for our people. This is our country, a country that has given my generation more than we can ever give back. Governments come and go. Our people will remain. Our country will remain. We went into the world getting the best there was. because of what we got out of this country. We came back to give back to this country. This is not politics. Whoever is in that, even if it is my father, if he's done something wrong, I will criticize him. The President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, I will give it to him, President Muhammadu Buhari, GCFR, has done very well in supporting us, in allowing this operation to go. And the Chief of Defense Staff, General Lucky Rabo, was the one that nurtured this group and adopted it. And all the service chiefs, all of them, the GOCs in Kaduna, the past and the present, the colonel that was embedded in us, the Air Force, everybody came in here. The DSS, everybody came in here. It's not about us. It's not about me. It's not about this. It's not about criticizing the government. If I go there, the president doesn't do it right, I'll come back here in the studio if you give me time to criticize the government. It's my right as a citizen to do that.
All right, on a final note, Prof. This is you now as Professor Usman Yusuf and a Nigerian. Well, a professor of hematology, no doubt, but who's now a social commentator of sorts, if you don't mind my saying that. This question lingers on the minds of many Nigerians. Who are the winners and who are the losers? Because criminals walk free. Is that the price we pay for peace?
I tell you, the winners are the families of those that were released today. The winners are Nigerians. That we're hoping this government will not leave. Can you imagine this government exiting with this trained hostages still in captivity? It will be a blight in this government and all holding senior military position or senior government. It was during your time. It is time to be happy that we got this. But we are not there yet. It is not time to take a victory lap. We have many of our people, like I said, all across this forest. Every little step is something to celebrate. And the law, and the military, I have no doubt will shake out today.
Shouldn't the law take its course with those who are culpable, guilty of criminality?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Absolutely.
But does it look like anyone would be held accountable?
They will, in due course, in the course of time. Why is shake out today? They're all dead men working. The military will do its part. The judiciary should do its part. The intelligence agencies should do. We have done our part, and we are ready to do some more to help our people. We're not working for government, president, CDS, or working for our people. This is our country. These are our people. And we will do this again.
Professor Usman Yusuf, interesting talking to you as usual.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right. And that's our program today. Thank you for watching. Next week we'll be back with One-on-One. I'm Cyril Stober. Continue to stay safe.